Okay, I'm good. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Love Fruit podcast. I'm excited today to be joined by a fantastic guest, Tom Avery, and we'll be getting into a conversation very soon. I would just like everyone to know thank you very much for supporting the Love Fruit podcast. Sorry for a little bit of a break. We hope to come back with more interviews. I'd like to let you all know that we have a festival in the UK called UK Fruit Fest. You can find more information at fruitfest.co.uk. If you're interested in finding out more about that, then you can head to the website or send us a message at info@fruitfest.co.uk for more information. Info@fruitfest.co.uk. Let me get to our guest today. Tom Avery is a lifetime athlete, tennis coach, and a sports nutritionist. His interest in health started at the age of 32. He read every book on alternative healthcare and diet that he could get his hands on. And although he made improvements to his health for years, he felt that something was missing. And it wasn't until at the age of 58 that Tom realized that a vegan diet is the one that we are designed for and is the most optimal. He still teaches and plays tennis and works out 5 times per week. He's also put together his information about the raw vegan lifestyle in the fruitandsport.com website and YouTube channel. And he has some plans and programs that people can follow: the transitional vegan 30 love diet and the totally raw vegan 30 love diet. So you can check all that out, I believe, fruitandsport.com. But Tom, is there anything else you would like to say in introduction to yourself?
Well, that was a good introduction, Ronnie. I like that. That was good. That's pretty much me, you know. The other thing is, I'm a believer in creation. That's a big part of my life, my relationship with God, and so I am quite active in that pursuit, spiritual pursuits. I just wanted to mention that. So my life is, fortunately for me, it's been sports, which, are healthy. I played everything in high school, played a little in college, and, I've been doing it my whole life. So I think you pretty much nailed it. And and things got better for me when I found my wife over here, Joanne. Yeah.
Hello, Joanne.
Hello, how are you?
Very good. Very good. Thank you for joining us as well.
Yes, thank you.
And Tom, what I would generally ask people is that most people haven't been brought up on a vegan or a raw vegan diet. And in fact, you've mentioned that in your biography, that it was not till 58 that you realized that. So how were you brought up, and what was your diet and lifestyle like at a young age?
Oh man, it was not healthy. Unbeknownst to my poor grandmother and my parents, I come from my mother's Irish, grandfather was born in Dublin. And for us, it was like party was a big part of our life, partying. And I got into that, but we didn't eat right either. You know what I mean? We were eating all kinds of junk. It was all fat, bacon and eggs for breakfast, hamburgers for lunch, pot roast for dinner. And that just went on for decades. And that's actually how I got into finding Dr. Graham's book, because when I was 58, I could not raise my left shoulder to serve the ball in tennis. So I just went online and I found Doug and I read some stuff and I said, you know what, let me just try this, see if it works. I bought Doug's book, devoured the book, and then in 1 or 2 weeks, I knew I had found the ultimate diet. Everything started to loosen up and I had more energy. The biggest problem for me on the raw diet is, I was always a thin person, even when I was eating all that fat. I mean, and so I weighed like the most I ever weighed in my life, and I'm 6 feet, was 160 pounds. And when I went on the raw diet, I went down to like 130.
Right.
And I was like, whoa. But you got to be honest. Your so-called muscle was just water retention and fat, and basically the water retention keeps you alive, because you don't get toxic overload. But but now I'm back up to over 140. I'm still light. I'm actually trying now I'm trying to prove that a 74-year-old can still put on muscle, on a raw vegan diet.
That's amazing.
It's working. It's working. It takes time though, And go ahead.
You've always been into sports, but were you healthy as a child? Did you have any health issues growing up?
Yeah, I had issues. I'd get sick a lot, a lot of colds, flus and stuff. And nothing really too major besides, well, when I hit like the 40s and 50s, I had some really my shoulder locked up, but before that, I had serious digestive issues from all the fat, all the animal products I was eating. Hemorrhoids, really bad. I had what's called fissures, which are, oh man, the worst nightmare. I mean, you got to lie down for 2 hours after you have a bowel movement, so it was rough. And I had to take fiber every day just to keep the bowels moving. And then that was the other thing, that a light bulb went off. As soon as I started on Doug's program, I mean, I'm pooping 3 times a day, no problem, So that was fantastic. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
How did you get into sports? Was that something always as a child you were doing, or?
Yeah, it was something I was brought up with. I went to Catholic schools and started out, we played football, basketball, baseball, everything. We ran track, everything. And it was a big part of my life because I was always naturally fast. I was a good runner, and that was really my main thing. I was quick, I was fast, but that helps you in sports, any sport, Yeah. I played 1 year of college basketball, and I actually didn't get into tennis until late in life. But 2 years after I started playing the game, I was playing in a tournament in New York, and I was in the final, and I beat a teaching professional 2 years after I started playing. So the guy said to me, "Hey, you want to help me teach some of my students?" And I said, "Sure." And that's how I got into teaching tennis. And I've been doing it ever since.
That's amazing, Tom. 2 years into learning tennis, you beat the teacher.
Yeah, a teaching pro. It
Wow.
was not a, an Associated Tennis Professionals tournament, Djokovic and those guys.
No.
But these guys, teaching pros have to be good players because they've got to be able to at least beat their students, most of them anyway.
Wow. So at what point for you did you start to experiment with your diet? Were you always making little adjustments and changing over the years, or did it all happen at once?
Yeah, it was over the years, because when I started to read the books of Norman Walker, Bernard Jensen, people like that, I was making changes and trying to do as best I could. But I don't know when I got back we lived in Connecticut for a while, and this famous doctor was there in Connecticut, and he came out with the Eat Right for Your Type.
Oh yeah.
You remember that? I tried that and I did it. And that's when I ended up with hemorrhoids and fissures so bad. I said, I can't deal with this anymore, you know? So I kept trying different things over the years. You know, I think we tried to eat pretty healthy, you know, like,
And combination of just, animal products with vegetables or vegetables with, starches,
yeah,
but
yeah.
not mixing starches with proteins.
Right. We tried to get into food combining better, you know, and that helped. We cut out dairy, said no more ice cream. And I never ate desserts and stuff. I said, no, I don't need it. But we were eating meat back then. But you know, so it was kind of a gradual process. I was always searching, trying to find what really works.
And were you both doing this together?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, we got into it together because when I had that problem with the shoulder, you know, and I found Doug's book, I said, Joanne, we got to try this. And she was all on board with me. It was great. So, you know, we've been doing it ever since. Now, it hasn't been perfect ever since. But for the first 4.5, 5 years that we did it, we were strictly raw 80-10-10 to the T. And, you know, energy levels were great, everything. We went through a rough period. Joanne's mom died. My two parents died. Now, it's not an excuse, but you're looking for comfort. And Freely was doing the raw till 4. And I dabbled into, you know, some potatoes and rice and beans at night only at night. And, you know, all day breakfast, lunch was all fruit pretty much. And yeah, just fruit. And, you know, we did that for a while. And then, you know, just really in like the last 6 months, we've been totally raw again. And I hope I don't go back. I don't want to go back. I want to stay raw.
I feel you on that.
Yeah.
What do you mean? So, well, how about we find out how did you guys meet? Did you meet at work or college or?
Well, that's a funny kind of story. I had a roommate at the time. I had just gotten divorced from my first wife. And this roommate I had and we were of the same religion. We're Jehovah's Witnesses. And he was going to an assembly. And he said, you want to go with me? I said, sure. So I went, and that's where I saw Joanne. And he didn't even introduce me. And I said, what are you doing, man? Why didn't you introduce me? You know? Anyway, I started to pursue her after that. And I met her brother and talked to him and said, you know, I was very proper about it. You know, I said, I'd like to date your sister. And he said, he gave me your number. And that was it.
Ah,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So you talked about your shoulder was the first time that you actually went towards finding more information. You found Doug's book. And how did you make that connection? How did you find Doug's book? Because it's not necessarily the first one you would come across.
Yeah. Well, you know, we were at used to have these franchises here in the States called Wild Oats. You ever heard of them? They used to have, it was like Whole Foods, but they called it Wild Oats. And one day, Joanne and I were in there getting a bite to eat, and this young guy was sitting next to us, and he had a big salad, you know, with pineapple on it. And I said, man, that looks good. And he started talking to us, and he said, yeah, I'm following Dr. Doug Graham's his diet. He wrote the book, 80-10-10 diet. And he said, you haven't heard about it? I said, no. But that's when, you know, when I had the shoulder problems and I remembered that young guy that we had met So I probably just hit into 80-10-10 or Doug Graham, and there was the book. I got the book, and the rest is history. I just
Do you remember
really
the name at all, that young man?
I'm sorry?
Do you remember the name of the young man?
No, I don't.
No,
We never knew him from a hole in the wall, you know, he was just sitting next to us and we never saw him again, you know?
Wow.
I think he was just visiting.
Yeah, he might have just been a visitor to Naples. We get a lot of tourists here, a lot. Yeah.
You were already living in Naples then, you didn't move to Florida after you started the fruit diet?
No, no.
Mhm.
But now we're into fruit trees. We have about 60 fruit trees. We've got 2.27 acres.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got like orange trees, mamey sapote, sapodilla, black sapote. You know, we've got a lot of stuff. Guava, oranges, all different types of oranges, tons of mangoes, great mangoes, all on the property. And we also grow our own lettuces.
Pineapple,
Pineapples, we grow
mulberry.
pineapples. Yeah, mulberry.
How long have the trees been growing for?
Well, the mangoes, the longest, they're prolific. We get a lot of mangoes, and the oranges are good. We've had those the longest. And some of the other ones we're just starting to get fruit. Sugar apple, you know, the cherimoyas, the atamoyas, those kind of things. So it's
Lychee.
great.
Lychee.
Lychee, we got lychees.
Could you give an idea of how much fruit is coming off, like the trees you have that are the most abundant? What's the, do you have an idea of the kind of quantity?
Oh man, like in a good mango season, some of our we'll have hundreds and hundreds, 500 to 1,000 mangoes,
Yeah.
you know,
Wow.
which we give away, you know, or we eat them ourselves.
We eat a lot.
We eat a lot. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. See, I don't think people realize how abundant these trees can be, even one or two trees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. So the transition to this diet, how did that go for you? Did you do it overnight? Did you take time with it? Did you have any help from anyone? How did you approach it?
See, for me, it's always like if I have the right point to go to, I do it overnight. Boom. I just went overnight and never looked back. As soon as I experienced that first week or two, there was no way I would ever go back, you know? Yeah, and as far as help, occasionally I would maybe ask Doug a question through email or something. And, you know, that was it because he was the only one that we really knew who was doing it. So.
Have you been able to meet anyone else in real life that's doing the 8-10-10 diet?
Mary Ann Luke.
Yeah, we have one other gal here in town who was doing it. And she went off also. She was eating some cooked stuff. It's so addictive. You have to stay away from it, you know. And she's, you know, I think she goes, my son, who's kind of a comedic type person, he said, yeah, when you're eating raw, you feel great. Then you go on to some cooked and you feel lousy. He says you go in and out of suffering, you know, and eventually, see, you learn. Eventually you learn. I don't want to go to the suffering anymore, you know, and it's not huge. I remember Doug did a podcast recently with Rip Esselstyn. Remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
And he said Rip has a B-. He gave Rip a B- for health, you know. So B- in like the United States is like incredibly good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But raw is another level. It's another level of energy, clarity of mind, and just, you know, what else could you say? It's just the best.
Yeah.
It improves your mood.
Yeah,
Your mood has
yeah,
definitely improved.
yeah. My mood's gotten better. Yeah.
What were your challenges in that transitional time?
Well, you know, when you're with friends, you know, or you go out to eat, it's like anything, or they invite you over and they, you know, make things for you or whatever. I would tell people, you know, all I need is a big salad. That's all. And I'll bring my own salad dressing. But sometimes you just get, you know, you want to really kind of numb out, I guess. You know, the thing is, I grew up as a partier. So I know that feeling, you know, of just forgetting everything, you know. And but once you fall into it, it's like it becomes a habit again, you know. And you know, but I basically I don't drink anymore. You know, back in when I went raw, you know, when I was 58, I said, that's it. No, I don't need booze anymore, you know. And so, and that's been good till now, you know. I just not interested.
Mhm.
You feel so good, it's like, why do that?
So how quickly did you start to notice benefits with the new diet, and what were the benefits that you noticed?
Well, right away, it's just the clarity, the energy levels. You feel like working out, you know, you feel like doing the extra mile, whatever you want to call it, you know. And just in our property here, you know, since we've been on this diet, we've gone crazy with the fruit trees. We've, you know, learned about gardening techniques, composting. So it's a constant learning thing. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Um, and what would be a typical day be like for you now with your raw vegan diet?
Okay. Well, now we're in orange season here in Florida. It's just trickling in now. We're getting the Hamlin oranges, the Valencia oranges. And so let's say Joanne, for instance, likes to do her exercise right away in the morning when she gets up. She does trampolines, stretching, and she does weights
And walking.
and walking. And like with me, I if I have lessons, see, I have a tennis court on the property here that we had built. And so I may have students that come here in the morning. So if I have students coming at say 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, I'll have something. Usually I'll have OJ up to 32 ounces fresh squeezed. Or if I don't have the oranges, if it's a little off season, I'll have homemade lemonade or limeade in the morning. And maybe even a little fruit. It all depends, you know. I could have some bananas or something else. Like we got some really nice persimmons a couple of weeks ago, and we still have a lot left. So, you know, I'll have some of that in the morning. And grapefruits are good. And then after the morning, see, what I like to do, if I have lessons, or maybe before the lesson, if the lesson is at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, I'll do a quick workout, either before the lesson or after. My workouts take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, and it's mainly strength. I'm trying to put on some weight, I'm trying to, put on maybe 10 pounds of muscle, and, which takes time and persistence. So, I do weights, but the key, I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy on YouTube. Have you heard of ATG?
No?
Knees over toes guy?
Yes.
That's him, ATG, knees over toes guy. I follow his protocol because you not only strengthen, you lengthen. Because if you don't have lengthening of the muscle, you're eventually going to get injured. You've got to, like for instance, a split squat. A split squat is one of the best exercises you can possibly do. And you can do it loaded. You can use dumbbells or put a weight on your back. And, it's tremendous exercise, but you're not only strengthening, you're lengthening, which is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do that. And then lunch is usually the biggest meal of the day, probably anywhere from, 1,200, 1,500 calories, just a huge fruit bowl. And then dinner is, just what Doug recommends, a soup or some orange juice to start off, let's say, or some kind of fruit, some couple of persimmons or whatever, 300 or 400 calories, 300, 400, something like that. And then big salad. And the hardest part for me, I still crave my fats. So it's like I want fat dressing every night, And so, I try and do it. What I'll do sometimes, I'll just save the dressing for every second or third day,
Mm-hmm.
and just eat a lot more fruit for dinner,
Right.
and, something like that. Yeah.
So you follow the 80-10-10 quite strictly then?
Yes. Yeah. I think it works the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because some people seem to want to increase the fat. They want to try and play around with that and make
Yeah.
it work. I personally stick with the lower fat. I think it's the best way. But for you, have you experimented with both, and what have you seen with that?
Well, like Doug says, and it's certainly true, with me, when I eat fat, my digestion slows down a little bit. It slows down, and I always think of this, Ronnie. I was 58 years of eating pot roast and scrambled eggs and bacon, and I don't know how soon they say everything's new every 7 years, but I still think, to a certain extent, you're still kind of detoxing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're constantly detoxing, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But how about you? So, one of Doug's main guys, that Tim Trader,
Mm-hmm.
he said he was doing 15% fat. And, so maybe that works for some people,
Yeah, so I remember when I got into the raw vegan diet, it was about the time after the 80-10-10 had come out. So I essentially always heard about the low fat raw vegan diet. That's what I've mostly seen and followed.
Yeah.
And as far as I can see, the reason for that is there was such a history that Doug had seen of people failing with a high fat diet and trying to make a high fat diet work, or not even realizing they were eating a high fat diet, and it just wasn't working for people, and they weren't feeling right, and it wasn't getting the result they wanted.
Mhm.
And so when he put this book out, it was like all of a sudden lots of people tried it and went, "Oh, this makes sense and this works." And I think we shouldn't forget that. So some people want to, for whatever reason, they want to say, "Oh no, 80-10-10, that's too low. I like this or this or 20%." I think it's and I've seen people who still have olive oil in their diet. I've seen raw foodists who have had, for example, who still have or have heart issues like
Wow.
congested, arteries, and
Yeah.
they won't give up the olive oil and they won't give up the fats and they won't give up the nut. And you're like, when are you gonna get the message?
Yeah. I hear you.
It's that powerful in a sense of they're eating all raw food, but if you eat high fat, it doesn't. You're still gonna have problems.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I totally agree. I think fat is the biggest problem the human race has, eating too much, you know?
Yeah, I've always something because I think it's interesting in diet and in health circles. People focus on so many different things, and for some people, they focus on, um, you know, cutting out sugar or intermittent fasting, or is it organic or not? Is it local or not? Is it environmentally right? There's so many factors that people could focus on, and the supplements they take and all these things. And I definitely think that low fat diet is one is it, if anything is worth focusing on, that's worth focusing on. And the the amount that you're eating, if most people could focus on those two things, how many calories are you eating and how much fat are you eating? So if everyone kind of ate a healthier amount and ate a proportionately healthier amount of fat, I feel like that would solve an awful lot of problems straight away. And yet everyone's focusing on all this other weird stuff.
Yes, I totally agree with what you just said. That's so true. So true.
And our
Yes.
deposits in the joints.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I guess you've done a lot of the research and you seem like someone who's done a lot of research and learning. I mean, I feel like education's quite an important part of this
It is.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the thought, the idea of getting, the majority of your calories from fruit is so foreign. It's so foreign to people, they just can't comprehend it. It's so simple, but they don't get it. Because for some people, it's very difficult because they're in an area where it's hard to get a ripe banana, or they live, look at these people that are in Alaska. They're not getting a whole lot of fresh fruit up there, so it's difficult. It can be done, though. It can be done. I'm not saying you can't do it.
Uh-huh.
It can be done.
And even there's raw foodists and raw vegans that still can't eat enough fruit or can't imagine or still have issues with eating enough fruit and things like that.
You
So
do.
that's a shame.
Some raw.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
some, yeah.
And
Yeah.
they concentrate on vegetables.
Yes, they do.
It's-
Yeah. Well, that's the Hippocrates.
What do
You've
you
heard-
think about that? Have you come across Hippocrates? You
Yes,
like
I
not
meet
too far.
people and they say, "Oh, I'm following the Hippocrates diet," and they gravitate towards fats.
Mhm.
Sure.
All they want is avocados and gourmet, vegan dishes.
Yeah.
And then with those, you get the salt and all the other stuff, the vinegars that you don't want.
And you never feel satisfied.
No,
You eat all the fat you like, you never quite feel like you're
that's true.
still missing something. You're still
Yes.
missing something.
That's why they want the dessert.
Yeah,
Right.
They
absolutely.
want the chocolate cake.
Joanne, is your typical day similar to Tom's?
Yeah, I like to start off with exercise, but it doesn't always work because sometimes we have to get going very early in the morning. And so I try, since it's kind of warm in this climate here, I like to get my exercise done early in the morning when it's not so hot. And sometimes I can do the walk later in the day if I don't have time to get it done in the morning. But I really like starting off with some warm lemon juice, some warm water. It's kind of like tea temperature, and lemon, and I think that helps my system. And then I'll go for the orange or grapefruit juice, and later on the fruit, bananas.
But quite similar then.
Yes,
Yes,
and then we have the salad at night.
It's really great that you guys could do that together.
Yes.
Oh, man.
It is.
It is.
Really is.
Yeah.
So I used to, it's funny you were talking about people not imagining about how much fruit you can eat and everything. And I've ran a number of different fruit lucks and potlucks and invited people over, and I bought all the fruit and put it out. And sometimes it would be so funny that even people that were coming to what they knew was a raw food gathering, I would sit all this fruit out and they would just sit there looking at it, and it was like they didn't know what, you know. And I would think, why aren't people eating? And
Right.
they're just sit and look at it. And then sometimes I would try and encourage people to eat. And then someone would say, I've got some chocolate. I've got some hot chocolate. And everyone would be like, oh yeah, I'll take some chocolate. I'll take some chocolate.
Oh, man.
And then you had to turn the, go and get some banana ice cream and make some ice cream. And then people got that. Okay, yeah, ice
Yeah.
cream, chocolate. That makes sense.
That's what we do with a lot of our friends. I'll make them chocolate ice cream. Personally, I don't use chocolate. I give it to them because I know that's what they want. But I usually use carob. We get carob.
Oh,
Raw
yeah.
Carob. Yeah, it's good. And yeah, and then what else? We give them salads, and we give them some of our homemade dressings. And for a while there, when we were eating the starches, we'd have rice and beans or maybe some sweet potatoes, whatever, but
Yeah. What are some mistakes that you see people making? I guess you've helped people and you've talked to people and you put out videos. I'm sure you watch other ones. And what do you think are mistakes that people make on this journey?
I think the number one mistake is they're not getting the point. You've got to eat fruit for the bulk of your calories, and you have to eat more fruit. You have to get your stomach to expand a little bit and keep taking it. And every time you eat, like Doug says, try and just eat a little bit more. Just eat a little bit more.
Yeah.
So your stomach can expand.
Mm-hmm.
And, once you get used to that stomach expanding, and you can eat more watermelon, you can eat more bananas, and then everything kind of starts to fall into place. You feel good, you're getting enough calories, your digestion's great, everything's working. I think that's the biggest mistake. They don't eat enough, and they keep gravitating towards the fats or the starches.
That comes up a lot when I ask people. They say people don't eat enough calories and don't eat enough fruit.
Yeah. And some people are looking at all the individual minerals and vitamins in different foods. So they're stumbling over what it contains rather than combining it with a variety of other foods. And
That's
not-
that's an important point, Joanne. That's the other thing is, as you're saying, like there's a big culture of people approaching nutrition as, why do I eat this fruit? Why do I eat that vegetable? What do I get for this? What's that one for? As if you're piecing together a jigsaw puzzle of a diet, having these nutrients from this food, these nutrients from this food, these nutrients from the other food, and try to kind of piece it all together. And if you don't get enough, you have to go and eat this other food, and you have to supplement if you don't get enough of that. And it's not the way that we look at it, I feel, from the way that you seem to be, that you don't look at nutrition like that.
No, no. If you eat seasonally,
right,
the fruits that are in season, you're going to get everything you want.
right.
You get all the nutrients you need.
Fantastic.
And,
Fantastic.
make sure you include the leafy greens. They're important.
What would be some tips you have in terms of, as a sports nutritionist, in terms of maximizing sports performance? How do you approach that in terms of nutrition when it comes to you wanting to perform at your best? Are you eating right beforehand? Are you limiting what you eat beforehand? How do you plan that all out?
If, for instance, if I had to play, a serious tennis match, I would eat, my meal. Let's say I had a breakfast or something. I would eat 3 hours before I have to play that match. But then I would have with me some kind of juice, watermelon juice, maybe some orange juice and water, and maybe a few bananas, that I might need during that match,
Gatorade. I mean, Gatorade.
Gatorade, yeah. You've heard of that, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something like that. But you look at even like the top tennis player now, Djokovic,
Mm-hmm.
he's big on fruits.
Oh, yeah.
He's very big on fruits. I don't know, who knows what his exact diet is. Does he eat some salmon once in a while or whatever? But you got to realize that these guys are young, number one. Well, he's getting old now, but most of these guys are 35 and less. And they're working out, they're playing, they're training 3, 4, 5 hours a day. They're burning everything they eat.
Wow.
So it's like they don't have to eat perfect. I mean, they could have some, when I say perfect, I don't know, maybe they had some salmon or some rice and beans or some potatoes. That's not going to affect their performance too much, I don't personally think, all right? But if they could get enough fruit and eat that, I think their performance might even be better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially mentally.
Right. It really does affect you
mentally.
You're more patient. There's a lot of changes within our thinking, our body, from switching over to raw fruits.
I think it's one of the most serious parts of it as well, because I think that it's easy to forget, when everyone else is eating a different way, it's easy to forget how significant it is, the impact that diet has had, because it's easy to kind of go, well, most people seem okay, or they're getting on okay, or whatever. A lot of people feel like that, and people get to quite a high age and these kind of things. But there's a lot more going on, and people are often hiding a lot that's going on with their health. They don't publicly come out and say they've had this problem and this problem and this surgery and this procedure, and and they're on these medications.
Yes.
So we see that, and what's amazing to me is, for example, I was thinking about the mental side of it. There was a prison population there was a prison study, I'm sure you might have heard of it, where they put them on a vegan diet in the prison, and they kept a track of these guys, a bunch of guys that they put on a vegan diet. They left prison, and the likelihood of them coming back to prison was way, way less than the other prisoners that left at the same time and just continued with their same diet. And I think that even when they changed the diet, their behavior within the prison changed. And the question is, if that is the case, why didn't they do that across all prisons straight away? If it made that much of an impact. But that makes me go down a path where I'm thinking, how many people are potentially violent, aggressive, criminal behavior, psychotic, mentally unhealthy, and purely because of a sensitivity they have diet-wise, potentially. Not to mention the amount of people that are disabled, obese, dementia, Alzheimer's, all the stuff that goes on with a bad diet. And I sometimes I just have to remember how important this information is and how impactful it is.
Yeah. That's true, Ronnie. I've heard stories where people come out of depression. I mean, just in their room in the dark, they don't want to see anybody, do anything, and they start eating fruit and they come out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was interested, you said earlier on about your connection with I think you called it creation. And
Yes.
was that impacted at all? Does this diet fit in line with your philosophies around that? Some people talk about a better connection sometimes.
It does. It does 100%, because we're believers in the Bible, and in Genesis chapter 1, that's the food that God gave. And a lot of people, see, we don't believe that Adam and Eve were just myths. They were real people, created just like we are now. And that God gave them fruits.
Right.
Now, there's a lot of people that are also Bible readers, and they will say, yeah, God gave them fruits in the beginning. But then when Noah came out of the ark, God said, you can eat meat. But the amazing thing that we find so interesting is that when God gave Adam and Eve fruits, he said it was very good. He said it was very good. But when he gave Noah animals, he said, I'll let you eat them. And the reason he said that, in our belief, now this is speculation, okay? But God knew that there would be people that would gravitate to the North Pole and the South Pole. You're not going to get fruit there.
Yeah.
The Eskimos have to live off fish and whatever they get. But they live only to 50 or 60 years, and they die from heart disease and diabetes. So it goes along with the Bible perfectly that this is the food we're designed for, fruit. And it's still the best food for us.
I mean, I feel a sense that, with the fruit diet, it's like a step back towards paradise.
Yes. That's exactly what it is.
Like a slow, like it's not taking over the world right yet, but it feels like the consciousness about this will start to really get out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the fact that, for example, that you have 2 acres of land and you have 60 trees, you'll probably have enough more fruit than you need, in a very short space of time. And I think you said you might already have that. And just the fact that how many people could do that, and that would change how people live, how people the food supply situation and global food shortage problems and things like that. And there's so many places in the world that seem to have food shortages and things, and they have good weather for growing fruit, but they're trying to grow other crops and stuff, and sometimes those crops fail, and yes, you just think this is a solution. That's what I love about the fruit diet, is that we're not here just complaining about the world. We're here with a solution to so many of the problems of the world.
It does solve problems individually. It can solve people's problems because they become like, I know I've changed, just because of the diet. It's helped me change my personality for the better, and like you say, look what it did with prisoners,
Yeah.
And we grow our own lettuces and herbs, parsley, mint,
dill,
dill,
cilantro.
delicious.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, when did you start putting the information out there? You've made some great videos. You've had a lot of attention from your videos.
I started, not long after I read Doug's book, maybe a couple of years or so into it, I started making videos. And I used to call it rawfoodchamp.com. And then it was veganlogic.com for a while, or .org, and then now it's Fruit and Sport. I like Fruit and Sport because fruit is the key. And if you're an athlete, if you want to improve your performance, go for fruit. So, and I copied Doug big time. Instead of Fruit and Sport, Fruit and Sport. Yeah.
It's a nod to him. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've got I believe you've written some programs. I don't know if you've got a book, but you've got information. And how do you go about, do you help people? Do you work with people? And how can people get more from you?
To be honest with you, most of my friends, the meat eaters and stuff, they don't really want to go there. A lot of my friends, okay, they're not that interested. But things may change because, a lot of my friends are on medications, they're getting surgeries and all this stuff. And we're on no medications. Neither of us have had surgeries, and we're getting up there. I'm 74, Joanne's 67. And, I think the example is the best. And, and from the example, they may start asking us questions. How do you do it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So have you guys looked at or considered the Woodstock Festival that's moved to Homestead now?
Oh,
it's in Homestead now?
wow.
Really?
Yeah, they've moved it to Homestead, Florida.
And is Michael Arnstein still involved?
No, I
No.
believe Michael Arnstein is no longer involved as far as I understand.
Is he still vegan though? I mean,
I don't know much about what he eats.
so
everything.
who's running it now, Ronnie?
The festival was really always run by a lady called Yulia Yakontova, and she originally from Russian, but she lived in New York. And when Mike was getting into the Proteinian diet, she was one of the other people in New York that he met that was doing it, and they came up with the idea to do the festival. And I think he played a huge part in financing it and getting the idea together and pushing it. But I think Yulia has always been the main person that's been running the day-to-day sort of aspects.
Yeah, I still get emails from Yulia.
Right. So she's the person, and Jeanette as well, Miss Fit Vegan Online, Jeanette D'Onofrio, she plays a big role in this. There's a few people that work on it, I think.
Yeah, does Doug go to that one in Homestead?
They've not said anything about that yet. As far as I know, As far as I
Are
know,
you-
for the moment, I don't think so. But they've not really announced any of their speakers. I think apart from they mentioned Aris Latham, who is apparently going. So I don't know any of the other speakers.
He's-
But Doug was previously a part of Woodstock years ago.
Yeah. Are you going to Homestead?
I've got a ticket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think it
Nice.
might be sold out. It might be. I'm not 100% sure, but
And what are the dates on it?
it's like the 24th of January to the 31st or something like that, like the last week of January.
Yeah.
A few months away.
Yeah.
But
You know, we have not been to one of those festivals. But someday I'd like to go to the UK Fruit Festival.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you think about I went to the Woodstock Festival in New York 10 times. I went
Yeah.
10 times, and
Oh.
they had great tennis courts there, and this is where
Yeah, yeah, it would have been
we
good.
missed you. We could have got some tennis lessons from you and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
actually, a professional player that used to work with me, I introduced her to veganism. And she went crazy on it because her feet were really hurting. And as soon as she went vegan, all her pain went away. She was playing professionally on the tour, and she went to the Woodstock Fruit Festival, Stephanie Tyler, and she had a crush on Ted Carr.
oh my God, I believe I completely know who you're talking about.
Really, Stephanie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I definitely have a picture in my mind of who that was.
She's
I'll have
she's
to-
now she's now back in Switzerland.
That's
She
right.
got married. She has a little baby boy, and she has her own little tennis academy.
Right.
Yeah. She's on my website, Stephanie.
Uh-huh.
She's
Uh-huh.
one of the testimonials.
Yeah, yeah. I was just yes, yeah. I've just looked up her picture. I totally remember her.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I totally remember her.
yeah.
And I'm sure she's happy for you to have shared to have shared about her crush on Ted Carr as well. That'll be funny.
Yeah, yeah. She got into it right away. She took off like a rocket with it.
Yeah, I completely remember her at the festival. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she went to
Hawaii
Hawaii
for a while.
where
Mhm.
Armstrong was. I don't know if he's
She
still
used
there.
to run 50-mile races and stuff. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, yeah. That was what was great about Woodstock. It's funny because I think in the early days of Woodstock, you were talking about Harley and Freely
Yeah.
and Doug Graham, and they were all the very fitness, activity based side of the raw vegan diet. So the festival had a lot of these athletes, and
Yeah.
it was this amazing gathering of like these really high level athletes coming together and running together, and it was amazing to see that. I'm not a very high level athlete, so I was inspired by it. And I was sitting with these guys thinking, wow, they're running marathons and triathlons and ultra marathons, and there was champions, and this guy's going to the Olympics, and it was a amazing kind of place. And I ran the marathon there one year. They have a Woodstock marathon, or they used to when Mike was part of it. And it was just a trail around into the forest and back out and round part of the festival camp. And I ended up running 22 miles.
Wow.
And I didn't have any training. I wasn't a runner. I just wanted to see how far could I go with this diet, and I was just kept going. And, I think it takes some of the limits off.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
people can do more than they think. There's a lot of people I know who have done a lot of running, and they think maybe I'll do a half marathon soon, or maybe I'll do a 10K, and I'm thinking you're probably able to do much more than that if you really wanted to. But the amazing thing with this diet was I didn't have any like recovery really. Like the next day I wasn't in pain or wasn't. It was amazing. It was
Yeah. That is amazing. Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But funnily enough, over the years, the raw vegan community has a little bit lost some of those voices and has became more towards this detox and spirituality detox. Let's just sit and do nothing and chill out um and not eat enough and all that kind of stuff. So
See what you're saying, yeah.
yeah, detox has become quite a big thing. But so Tom, where can people find you and learn more from you and get
Yeah,
information from
basically,
you?
either at, Fruit and Sport YouTube channel or the Fruit and Sport website. Yeah, those two places.
Excellent, excellent.
My tennis channel, if anybody's interested in tennis, it's Tom Avery Tennis on YouTube. And
What are some of your? Do you have any plans for the future?
what are our big plans for the future? We want to travel a little bit more, like that's why I'd like to go to the UK Fruit Festival. I have a friend there in England as well. And you're in Scotland, right, Ronnie?
I live in Scotland, yes.
Oh, yes, and we have a friend who's from there, right? It's just Fraser.
Fraser,
Edith,
Sister
Edith,
Fraser,
Edith.
yeah, Edith Fraser, yeah.
Yeah.
My grandmother, her name was Ramsay.
Oh,
She-
wow.
She was Scottish, yeah. And yeah, I'd like to go there too, Ireland, Scotland, different places like that. But and we want to go to Puerto Rico for sure. It's so close, it's so close to us.
Sure.
Have you been to Costa Rica?
No, that's one place I've never been.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
Ecuador or Colombia?
I've been to Ecuador. I went
Yeah.
to the Amazon Fruit Festival
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
in Ecuador, which is a place called Terra Frutis, which is a place where some land has been purchased and they have plots of land for people that want to do a vegan fruit-based diet. So a lot of people are growing fruit there, and the festival is 100% raw vegan, and they grow a lot of the fruit. They pick a lot of the fruit each day, and it was a great place. I would
Yeah.
say, and I'd recommend people check it out. And the festival itself, it's the climate is wonderful. It's a very nice climate. Um, Great people, very trustworthy people in a good place. I think they are still trying to get more people there. They want to get more of a community, so people are slowly starting to buy places there and build houses and things. So that'll be interesting to watch how that goes.
And what country is that in again, Ron?
That's in Ecuador.
In Ecuador. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite far out there. It's quite far out, but they found I think they wanted to find a place where it was if you were from the US, you could buy land and own it and have your own land and everything, and you could get a visa easily to stay there, and the climate was right and the political situation was peaceful enough and all these
Yeah.
things. So they've found this place. There's people from the UK living there, from Europe, from America, from I think from all over really have found this place.
Does you run that one also?
What's no, that's kind of a cooperative of people that are there. It was a guy called Jason who we used to go to Woodstock, and there was another guy called Jay that helped to buy the land, I think, and Peter. I've interviewed a few of these people on the channel. Peter is a influential figure there, and there's a lot of great people there. Charlotte from the UK who went to the UK Fruit Fest. She's great as well. She ran the festival and stuff. She's fantastic. So a lot of interesting people there. I've been in Colombia at the airport, but I didn't really spend time there. I did spend time in Mexico. It was supremely hot. Although I would say I think Texas was hotter than Mexico in my experience, but both hot places. But I've been to a lot of the different fruit festivals. That's why I've been to some of these places.
Yeah,
And I've been out to Thailand and
Oh,
Vietnam and
nice.
all different parts of Europe and Florida. I think I've been a couple of times. So I've enjoyed it a lot. I really enjoy this community of people, and I've found it worth my while to
Yeah,
go to where the fruit is and where the fruit people are.
yeah.
yeah.
Hey, Ronnie, I wanted to say too, I like your guitar playing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're good. You're
Yeah.
very good. Yeah.
Are you guys musical?
I play a little bit, but I'm not like on your level. Um, I I'm just a chord guy, you know.
Right, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, at some of these events, I've occasionally done a songwriting workshop, got people together, and we
Yeah.
played. Yeah,
I was watching today. You were playing at the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and the girl was playing on the picnic table.
oh yeah,
She was playing, and the girl was singing, and you were singing. The girl was belting it out. She was doing a good job, and you were doing a great job on guitar.
I think that was April, maybe April Electra, and we used to play together quite a lot at Woodstock, and she was from New York or living in New York,
Yeah.
but we kind of fell out because she became like non-binary.
Oh.
Have you heard of that? Like, so I don't know how she identifies now, but she identified as not male or female. She was non-binary,
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
and I maybe was, I don't know, maybe I said something wrong or something, I don't know, but she fell out with me anyway. But um, no, I've loved. I'm a music was like one of my first loves.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
uh,
I could tell. No, you're good.
thank you.
Isn't Colin Hay from Scotland? No, he's Australian.
Yeah, well, they no, that's right. They were. He was born in, I think, Kilwinning in Scotland, and then moved to Australia at a young age. And so that's
He's
just
always, he's always been one of my favorites.
yeah, similar to AC/DC as well. Two of them were Scottish but moved to Australia for some reason.
Yeah.
And
Keith Jarrett, wasn't he? Remember him, the piano player Keith Jarrett?
I've heard the name. I need to check who that is. Is that his country music?
No, he was like jazz. Um, I think he's from Scotland.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. Maybe not. Maybe he's not from Scotland. I might be confused. But yeah. And then you got the Proclaimers,
It's
right?
yeah, it's funny. You never quite know what music over here do people know in the US. So I wouldn't even realize you would know who the Proclaimers were. But
Oh yeah,
yeah,
500 Miles, great tune.
yeah, yeah. So they were the first band I really was aware of as a young, maybe I was 3 years old or 4 years old, and I was a fan of the Proclaimers at a very young age.
Wow,
Yeah,
that is very young.
Yeah.
Three
yeah,
or
yeah.
Wow,
One of the first bands I remember being aware of.
wow.
Anyway, guys, I want to just say thank you for your time, and it's been a very enjoyable chat, and I think very informative for the audience. I think you've said a lot of things that make a lot of sense and are wise and will help people. Is there anything else you want to share before we finish off?
Yeah, maybe after. Well, the thing is, I was born and raised in Holland, and I actually have a French background,
Mhm.
but um, I have artists in my family in the 1800s, and I know you're young compared to these people from the 1800s, but you look so similar to my relatives. Unbelievable.
Oh,
It's almost as if I'm seeing my great grandfather as a young person.
Wow.
It's amazing. The mustache, the shape of your head. It's amazing. You
But
look so much like my relatives, and there's a big bust made of him, and that's why I can always look at it.
I need to see the pictures. That'd be amazing.
Oh,
Oh,
we can
I
email
can send
to
it.
you.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to see that. I'd love to see it. You know, once there was a beer, and it was called Old Jock Ale, and I had a bit of a longer beard at the time, and I swear this beer had this character on it, I guess Old Jock, and it was like my face. It was so funny. And the beard, it was just so strangely similar, and I thought like I should get, you know, royalties or something, or like I should sue them for using my image. Um, I guess some merchandise at least or something.
Yeah,
Um, no, well, I'd love to see that. That's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I just want to say thank you guys, and I encourage the audience to check out fruitinsport.com. And there's not that many people in the raw food world that I can really send people towards and say, you know, this is a good source. This person knows what they're doing. But I think Tom and now I've learned Joanne really know what they're doing and have great ideas and information. So Fruit and Sport, YouTube and the website, and check out what they're doing. And I want to thank everyone for watching and viewing. Please do share this with others. If you have any feedback for us, you can send an email to info@fruitfest.co.uk. And you might want to check out the festival in the UK. And this, if you're listening to this in the year 2023 or 2024, we have a festival from the 26th of July to the 2nd of August. That takes place in Dunfield House, Herefordshire in England. You can get more information at fruitfest.co.uk, or you can send me an email and I'll let you know more about that. Thank you everyone for watching and listening. I'll see you in another episode of the Love Fruit podcast.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
Ronnie.
Ronnie.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot, man. Yeah.